Today we're going to be discussing the surface area of pyramids and cones. So the first thing that we're going to look at is we're going to look at a square-based pyramid. In other words, the pyramid is kind of like the pyramids in Egypt. The bottom or the base faces is the square. So the surface area of a square-based pyramid is basically, once again, the sum of the square base and then all the triangular faces. So in other words, all the sides are triangles. So if you're looking at the net, that bottom, the square, is going to be your base. And then all these others, the triangles, are all the sides. And there's 4 triangular sides. So, if you're looking at when we fold up our net and we look at our 3D pyramid, you're going to see this is an example of what it looks like on your formula sheet where it's labeled. So there's some parts to the formula that you're going to need to know. So let's go ahead and write the formula first. The formula to find the surface area of a square-based pyramid is 1/2 times LP plus capital B. So now what are those parts? Well, let's find the L first. The L, in this case, is going to stand for the slant height. So it is going to be right here, right outside. That is going to be your slant height. In other words, what's the height on the outside from the bottom down up to the top of the pyramid? Okay, so that is L. Now P. P stands for the perimeter of the square. Okay, so you'll basically just look at your formula sheet and look at the formula for the perimeter of a square, which is, you could add up all 4 sides if you want to, but the faster way is to just do 4 times the side length. And then the last thing that we want to look at is the capital B. Capital B, you're noticing, is all along the bottom of your pyramid, and it's shaded in. And the reason that it's shaded in is because capital B stands for the area of the square. So you're going to find S squared. So let's go ahead and we're going to move down and do an example. So first thing we've got to do is we've got to find our L. Then we're going to find our P. Then we're going to find our B. Okay, so let's take a look. It looks like our L is right here on the outside. That's going to be 34. Our P, once again, we're looking at the perimeter of the square, the bottom. So that's going to be 32 times 4. Because there are 4 sides. And 32 times 4 is going to give you 128. So that's the number we're going to use for P. And then our B is going to be the area of the base. So that's going to be at the bottom here. So right here, that whole area. And the area of a square is going to be 32, the side length, squared. And 32 squared is 1,024. Now we're going to plug into our formula. So we're going to use 1 surface area equals 1/2 the slant height times the perimeter plus the base. So we're going to change 1/2 to 0.5. Our slant height is 34. Our perimeter of the square is 128. And then the area of the square is 1,024. We will multiply, and when we do, we get 2,176 And the last step is to add our product to the area of the base. So we should get a total of 3,200 inches squared for our surface area. The next thing we're going to look at is the surface area of a triangular pyramid. And so it's basically going to be the exact same formula, except instead of using the square bottom, we have a triangular bottom. So we've got to use that information. So let's go ahead and we're going to say the triangular base pyramid is basically just the sum of the triangle base and all the triangular faces. Okay, so if you're looking at it, it's already labeled for you. This is the base, right? Base triangle. So that's the information that we're going to need for this one. The second thing is you're going to notice that all the faces are triangles as well. But just because the triangular base is the same shape as the faces, that does not necessarily mean that the triangle on the bottom is going to be the same size. So we have to do some calculations for that. So we're still going to use our formula, 1/2 the slant height times the perimeter plus the base. But this time, our perimeter, we are just going to add all the sides up of the triangle. So let's remember, once again, that that's the slant height. The L is the slant height. So right there. And P is going to equal our perimeter. Of the triangle base, okay? And then for our capital B, put that one over here, that is going to be the area of the triangle bottom, or the triangle base, which is 1/2 the base times the height. And the little b is just the side length, okay? So let's go ahead and do this one. These are a little bit more difficult, I think, but because they tend to have a lot of measurements, but I think we'll be able to figure it out. So let's go ahead and take a look. The first part that we want to see is what is the L, the slant height. And the slant height is right here. It's on the outside of the triangle, which is 5. Now the perimeter. Let me change colors here so you can see it. The perimeter is going to be the outside of the bottom triangle. So it is the 3, it is the 4, and it is the 5. So we're going to add 3 plus 4 plus 5. So the perimeter of this shape is 12, or the perimeter of the base triangle. Now, the last thing that I think is probably the most difficult is trying to find the area of the bottom triangle, because it's a little bit difficult to tell what is the bottom base and what is the height. So basically, in this case, what we're doing is we're going to find the area of this whole triangle right here on the bottom. Okay? And so, if you have a right triangle like we do on the bottom, then basically what that's going to be, the base for this one is going to be 3. Okay? And then the height is going to be 4. So essentially, those two are interchangeable, because if you're making up the right angle, that's going to be your base and your height. So we're going to do 1/2 times 3 times 4, which will give us 6. Now we have all three numbers to be able to plug into the formula. So the surface area formula is 1/2 the slant height times the perimeter of the triangle plus the area of the triangle base. So we're going to change that to 0.5. Our slant height is 5. Our perimeter is 12. And our area is 6. We'll multiply. And when we do, we get 30. And then 30 plus 6 is going to give us a total surface area of 36, and this is MI, which I'm assuming is miles squared. So that's pretty big if you're 36 square miles. Okay, the last out today is going to be the surface area of a cone. The cone is still, since we're surface area, we're going to sum the circle is going to be the base this time, and then the lateral side, in other words, the rounded cone part. The part you would roll if you were making an ice cream cone, okay? So here's the circle. That's the circle base. And then this is called the lateral side. It's just the side of the cone, okay? So for this formula, we are going to be using pi r times the slant height. Remember, we want the outside height for all of these, plus pi r squared, or in other words, the area of the circle on the bottom. So once again, we'll be using the slant height right here, the outside, and we'll also be using the radius. So let's go ahead and find those information. I'm going to go ahead for the problem, and I'm going to give you at the bottom here the slant height. The slant height for this is about 7.2. Okay. So now, slant height is about 7.2, or 7 2/10. The radius is 2. That's all the information we need. So now surface area formula is pi times the radius times the slant height of the cone plus the area of the circle, or pi r squared. So we'll use 3.14 times 2 times 7.2 plus 3.14 times 2 squared. Okay? So we'll go ahead and get our products. The first set is going to be 45 8/10 approximately. Remember, we're rounding. And then the second product set is going to be about 12.56. And then when you sum your side plus the area of the circle, you should get approximately 58.36 miles squared.